Right now, the APAC region still seems to be one of the hottest areas for conducting a clinical trial. I know when I was at DIA maybe 4 or 5 years ago, I heard a lot of talk about how the region was growing, and it still seems to be doing so. So the first thing I want to find out is what factors do our speakers believe are the most responsible for this popularity? And Sarah, I'm going to go ahead and start off with you. Maybe you can speak to this from a pure regulatory perspective, maybe discuss China and then some other APAC countries as well. But what are your thoughts on that?
Okay, thanks, Ed. From regulatory perspective, again, part of a conducting clinical trial is to ultimately get the, registration in those countries and to get the market access, right? And then number of countries, for example, Japan, Korea, and especially China, they do require local clinical data. So part of conducting clinical trial is to register those products. So that's one reason I could see that. But also, I think for APAC regions recently is relatively have a well-established clinical trial application or clinical trial notification process. And also we can expect it quite high quality of data coming out of those trial. And then in terms of a regulatory acceptance perspective. So again, I think getting access to those countries is one, and then also the quality of data and the expected regulatory process on other elements. But also a lot of countries, companies are interested in global drug development. And then if you look at the patient perspective, where the patients are, populations are, and especially, some of the conversations on clinical trial diversity, that's a hot topic for US. So more and more, I think, including sort of Asian population, different population is including in your global trials, also significant improvement. And specifically on China, as you know, regulatory process in China is quite dynamic and evolving. And again, it used to be taking a lot of longer time to have sort of a CTA approved in China, but that has changed and a much more streamlined. So again, I think huge market interest and then patient population and the regulatory timelines being improved, I think is one of the region's interest in the China and APAC region.
Okay, and Michael, I'd like to, I know you've spoken to a lot of folks in the region and you have many clients there as well. Any high level thoughts on, from your part on what is making the area so popular?
Sure. First of all, Ed, thanks very much for including me in this auspicious group. I can tell you that just looking at sheer numbers, one of the important aspects of working in Asia Pac is just the fact that if you take China, for instance, where I spend a fair amount of research connectivity time, the People's Republic of China actually represents about 20% of the entire world's population. We're talking about almost 1.5 billion people there. And I think just by sheer numbers, when you take a look at the fact that now China and Japan represent the second and third largest pharmaceutical markets in the world. I think the other thing, just as from the standpoint of disease etiology, both because of lifestyle changes in diet, size of population and the pressures that have happened in the Asia theater, what you're looking at is just an unprecedented number of changes in the actual incidence and prevalence of certain diseases, in particular, certain tumor types in cancer. Absolute explosion in lung cancer in Asia. And for that reason, I think that the Asian population really represents a significant opportunity for clinical trials to be done in the kinds of patient populations that need to be studied.